Today we talk about the legendary Undertaker. And this particular Funko has him coming out of a casket, which is an exclusive from GameStop. And of course, like most wrestlers, he had an athletic background and did play sports. But he got his first opportunity in the wrestling business under a mask and actually being managed by Paul Bear in world class championship wrestling. And he went up against the late, great Bruiser Brody, which was a very accomplished wrestler and big name over in Japan. But like most wrestlers in the 80s, he would kind of go around to different territories, whether it was WCCW or Memphis, and kind of learn his craft. And then he finally got his opportunity in WCW as Mean Mark Callis, and he was part of a tag team with not only Sid Vicious but Dan Spivey, and it was essentially a ripoff of um they were called the Twin Towers. And it was a good tag, it was a good little experiment, but the tag team really didn't last that long. And they kind of went their separate ways. Nothing, no feud, no nothing. It just one day they were gone. And he's actually a Paul Heyman guy because Paul E. Heyman actually managed The Undertaker in WCW. And you could see his athleticism even in WCW and that he was a great worker. And actually, an injury almost cost him his shot at getting into WWF. But luckily, he had enough people in his corner that he eventually got into WWF, and it's history from there. But one of the main reasons he went to WWF was because of a wrestler famously telling him that he would never amount to anything or draw any money. Well, that was a big mistake because The Undertaker became one of the most iconic and legendary characters in the wrestling business. He debuted in 1990 at Survivor Series with his manager, Bruce Pritchard, or Brother Love. And that really didn't last long because Brother Love, Bruce Pritchard, really didn't want to be on the road. I mean, he'd kind of come up with the whole Undertaker Kane idea, but then he just didn't want to follow through with it. So that's how The Undertaker got Paul Bear as a manager. And what a lot of people didn't know was Paul Bear was actually a licensed mortician. So it just fit the gimmick perfectly. And he just seamlessly slid into that manager role. And within a year, he had a title shot against Hogan, won the title at the 1991 Survivor Series, dropped it like 3 days later, but it is what it is. Actually, had one untelevised title defense against the British Bulldog within that 3 to 4 day span. But he had a legendary run, and he was one of those guys that he didn't need the title. I mean, he was undefeated at WrestleMania until WrestleMania 30. I mean, he beat the who's who in wrestling. He beat Hogan. He beat Jake the Snake Roberts. He beat Shawn Michaels. He beat um the Big Show. He beat Triple H. He beat Edge. He beat Ric Flair. He beat, his own brother Kane. He had some legendary matches with Mankind, and that feud in 1996 was incredible. They put the Buried Alive match on the map. They put the Broiler Room Brawl on the map. They put so many matches on the map, and the Undertaker's specialty matches, were the Buried Alive matches, the casket matches, the Hell in a Cell matches. He had feuds with Diesel, Sid Justice, Shawn Michaels, Yokozuna, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, everybody. But his biggest feud was always Kane, his brother. And that was an epic feud in itself, with WrestleMania matches, Buried Alive matches. And, between Kane and Mankind, you know, those were probably the two feuds people remember the most, because the Mankind with the Boiler Room Brawls, or the Buried Alive match, or even the Hell in a Cell match in 1998, where we all thought Mankind died. Those are really the two feuds, aside from the WrestleMania matches with Shawn Michaels, etc., that we really remember. I mean, because he wrestled everybody. And then he thought the Undertaker character was getting stale and completely flipped the script and became an American badass. That takes confidence and balls to take such an iconic character and realize you need to tweak it. And then from the American badass, he becomes big evil. And if you step into my ring, boy, I will make you famous. Then, of course, he goes back to the legendary Undertaker character, where it all begins again at WrestleMania 20, where he has to put his brother Kane down one more time. And he just had a legendary career, multi-time champion, worked with the who's who in the business, even put John Cena on the map when he didn't have to. was willing to work with the younger talent like a Randy Orton and elevate them, but was also willing to pay homage to people like a Ric Flair and work with them. You know, had one multi-time tag team champion, not only with his brother Kane, but the Big Show and even Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Undertaker did it all. And he was a great, still is, a great person, but his in-ring career is legendary.